This is a key to quiz one. And in number one, you had this linear equation. And remember, what made this a linear equation is that when you look at the variables, the exponents are all 1. So x to the first, x to the first, x to the first. So that's a linear equation. Now, I want you to notice, though, in this linear equation, I have 3 times x minus 4, and this x minus 4 is in parentheses. And notice the two terms that's inside the parentheses are being multiplied by 3. That's what that says, 3 times all of these terms, plus x minus 7 equals 2x plus 1. So I only see one set of parentheses here. And the fact that this x minus 1, that expression, that variable expression is being raised to the first power right here, being raised to the first power, implies that I can use the distributive property to get rid of those parentheses. And so when I use the distributive property, I get 3 times x is 3x, and then 3 times negative 4 is a negative 12, plus x minus 7 equal 2x plus 1. So that's the first thing. So the first thing was to use the distributive property, the first step. Now, if you look at the left-hand side, there are some terms that are like terms. So we can combine like terms. So for example, this term here and this term here, they both contain the variable x to the first power. So they're like terms. And so I can combine just by adding their coefficients. So this term here, 3x, the coefficient is 3. This term here, x, that coefficient right here is understood to be a 1. So 3x plus 1x is 4x. 3 plus 1 is 4. So I get 4x. Now, in terms of my constants, I have a negative 12, so make sure you keep the sign. This term's not a 12, it's a negative 12 and a negative 7. And a negative 12 and a negative 7 is a negative 19, equal 2x plus 1. All right, and so the next step is when you add this point, and by the way, there are no like terms on the right-hand side, so I just rewrote it over. So then what we're going to do is we're going to bring all the variables one side, all the constants the other. And it does not matter which side you bring those terms on. But mathematically, whatever you write has to be correct. So in other words, if you go ahead and subtract 2x from this side here, so you'll get a 0 on this part, then you better do the same thing over here. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Mathematically, that has to be shown. So what you do to one side, you do to the other. If you want all your points, everything you write has to make mathematical sense. Now we can combine like terms. We've already combined like terms on the right hand side. That's how we got 0 here. But over here, 4x minus 2x is 2x. So I get 2x minus 19 equals, and then 0 plus 1 is 1. And then adding 19 to both sides to get x by itself, right now I'm subtracting 19. The opposite of subtracting 19 is to add 19, but what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. And so when I combine like terms, these are opposites. Negative 19, positive 19 is 0. 2x and 0 is 2x, equal 1 plus 19 is 20. And then one more step and we're done. So to get x by itself, right now I'm multiplying x by 2, hence 2 times x, 2x. The opposite of multiplication is division. So to get x by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by that coefficient. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. What I do to one side, I do to the other. Make sure you're actually saying divide by 2. Divide by 2. Nothing else should be there. You're saying divide by 2. That's what you're doing here. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times x is x. And then reducing, 20 divided by 2 is 10. So that's your solution. Okay. Number 2. So here's number 2. Number 2, we have 3 times 2x minus 5 minus 3 times x minus 4 equal 5x minus 2. All right, so again, I have this linear equation. This expression right here, this 2x minus 5 is being raised to the first power, and so is x minus 1 being raised to the first power. So what that means then is that I can use the distributive property in both of those cases. So 3 times 2x is 6x, 3 times a negative 5 is a negative 15, negative 3 times x is a negative 3x, and a negative 3 times a negative 4 is a positive 12, equal 5x minus 2. Combining like terms on the left-hand side, 6x and a negative 3x is 3x. A negative 15 and a positive 12 is a negative 3, equal 5x minus 2. All right, so now I'm going to bring all the variables to one side, constants to the other. I'm going to go ahead and bring the variables to the left-hand side. So right now, this is a positive 5x. The opposite of adding 5x is subtract 5x. So that's how I get 0 here. But what I do to one side, I must do to the other. And so notice I'm aligning my like terms. Now combining like terms, 3x and a negative 5x is a negative 2x minus 3 equal, this is 0. 0 and negative 2 is negative 2. And then adding 3 to both sides. Right now I'm subtracting 3. The opposite is add 3. Notice what you do to one side, you do to the other. Otherwise, it's not mathematically correct. Then combine like terms. These are opposites. Negative 3 and 3 is 0 when you add them up. So I get negative 2x and 0 is a negative 2x equal. And then negative 2 and a positive 3 is a positive 1. And then let me go ahead and write it here. And then finally, to get x by itself, right now you're multiplying by negative 2. The opposite of multiplying by negative 2 is to divide. So you got to show the division is to divide both sides by negative 2. And then negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. 1 times x is x. So you get x to be negative 1 half. All right. So that's the key to the two linear equations that were on that quiz number 1.